Racing World Championship 12 Hours of Nürburgring is presented in partnership with Global Flix, Film Volt, Viper Gaming by Patriot, ESTV, and Motorvision.tv.
Racing for Green is here to help you carbon neutralize your racing. By planting new trees, Racing for Green offers to make your racing carbon neutral. We already have the calculations, contacts, infrastructure, deals and solutions ready for you to easily buy carbon neutral laps on any racetrack. It doesn't matter if you are a racing fan, team owner, driver, sponsor or partner. Anyone can buy CO2 neutral laps in the Racing for Green webshop and trade CO2 emissions for New Forest. Racing for Green.
A 1v2 for the tournament. Pressure is on.
Hello everybody and welcome to official practice for the fourth round of the EEWC for 2021. It is the 12 hours of Nürburgring here this weekend, and as you can see we're in official practice right now. It is raining out there on the Nürburgring circuit, as if we expected anything else. It's a bit of a surprise to see that we went through a whole 24-hour race without seeing any rain at all really, but we've seen some already this weekend, so official practice a little bit interrupted for these guys. Maybe might interrupt what they are trying to do with this one, but my name is Ewan O'Leary. I'll be taking you through the couple of hours practice session that we have here tonight. Got a new category, lots of new things to talk about throughout the session as we go along. Because it's all change really. Well, not all change, but there's some change in the EEWC since we had our last round, which was the Sebring 12 hours in the beginning of March. We're at the end of June now, so it's been nearly 4 months since we last had a race in the EEWC, and it feels like the first day back at school almost to some of these guys, I'd imagine. It's a little bit of a strange feeling to have such a long break in the middle of a season, but there we are. That's the way the season has gone this year. We're, I guess, at half distance in terms of the rounds. We've got the 12 hours of Nürburgring, then we've got the 24 hours of Spa in 2 months' time. It's at the end of August, or kind of mid part of August to end of August, here in a couple of months, and then, of course, the 24 hours of Le Mans at the end of October. So another 2-month break to that one, and that should be a LAN event. We're not well, I don't know if we can confirm anything in this day and age, but yes, we're hoping so, and it looks like that will be the case, but we just got to hope and pray just a little bit for that to actually happen. As you can see in LMP2 at the moment, Roland Zux currently has the best time in official practice. I'm not entirely sure if that's a dry time, because I'm not entirely sure what the times are around here, but I would imagine that's not a dry time, and that's been set in the similar conditions to what we have right now. As you can see, spray being kicked up and a lot of water out there on the circuit, so difficult conditions, and the fast chicane as well, of course, which is the fast version of the NGK chicane, which spits you right into the final corner and then onto the main straight, but yeah, that we're using the faster version of that chicane here today, or here this weekend, because I don't really know why, but often in endurance racing we do, and that's the same situation this time around. I think we had the fast chicane last year, although I can't exactly remember. It was a long time ago now, the 12 hours of Nürburgring for 2020. But yeah, it was certainly, what I do remember, certainly Viaducton took the hypercar victory, because they were the only hypercar entry that year into that race anyway. So yeah, that was an easy victory for them on that day. I'll try and have a look to see if I can find the points and whatever, but I can't for the moment. I'll just I'll have a look, and I'll try and tell you what happened last year. But yeah, it was a long time ago now, almost exactly a year, as it comes at a similar part of the season to what the one last time did as well. Sebring preceded it, so yeah, very, very similar indeed. So, as I mentioned, we got a whole other category in the EEWC here for 2021. And yeah, I guess we can start to delve into some of those details. Before we do that though, Nick Newcomb's on your screens right now, often in race direction, doing all of the race directing, but driving at the moment for the Juices Motorsport Club number 15 LMP2. And he will be doing so. I don't know if it will be for the race or not. He did tell us all, but I can't quite remember how much of the race he will be doing, if any. But he's in official practice at the moment. He will be doing some of qualifying as well, I believe. If that is the case, and if I've remembered that correctly, which is 50-50. I'm not entirely sure if I will have remembered it correctly or not, but I'll certainly have a look to see how much of the race Nick's going to be doing, if indeed any. But that's the 15 Douches Motorsport Club car, currently in second place in the championship for LMP2. The championship being absolutely dominated by Varga Sim Racing. So, yeah, Nick said to us a couple of days ago, he informed us all on when he's going to be driving and so on. He's going to be driving for the first few hours, as apparently Luca Di Melio has some PC problems, so they're waiting, or he will be waiting for Dylan Klaver and Saba Kiss to get back to jump in with Toon Lower, who's their primary driver, I guess, the 16-year-old from the Netherlands. He's put on great shows in the past in the EEWC. Remember that drive he put on Silverstone a good 4 or 5 months ago now. Very, very impressive from him indeed. So yeah, maybe we'll see something similar to that once again today. But no, he's going to be driving for the first few hours, and then he'll be off on his way and letting the faster drivers go for it. And I don't think I'll be doing him any disrespect by saying that. because he does have some very fast drivers with him in that LMP2. As I mentioned, the LMP2 Championship being absolutely dominated by Varga Sim Racing, who have got 81 points from a possible 81 in the first 3 rounds. We've got a 46-point margin over Deuces Motorsport Club. That's the 15 car we were just looking at, with Mugen Sim Racing and the 22 tied in second place with them, tied on 35 points, despite the fact Mugen have been a lot more consistent. All 3 results in the top 5 for the 22, whereas it's been 2 podiums for Deuces, but 1 9th place back in Indianapolis. Not a good race for those guys back there. So that's how they've taken their different routes to second place. But from second all the way down to 7th place, there's a good 6 cars there, or 5 cars I should say, covered by 7 points in the LMP2 Championship. It's very, very close in that championship. Not the closest, because Varga Sim Racing are running away with it, but those positions in the kind of mid-pack there are going to be very, very interesting to watch develop over the final 3 races of this season. Let's not forget that Le Mans will be double points, I'm pretty sure, compared to what it is normally, which is the normal FIA point system. And so yeah, double that and you'll have your Le Mans points, because it is a hard race and a LAN event. We expect they're also involved in that field in LMP2 is Ramada Motorsport in their 57. Second place at Indianapolis, easily their best result so far, because they haven't managed to crack the top 5 since then. Tied with them, ESG Motorsport in the 3-3-4. Let's not forget they changed their name from Fair Racing Team before the previous race at Sebring, if I remember correctly. Let's have a look at the weather map, because there is a lot of rain out there on the circuit at the moment, and this is where it's all coming from, is the radar. Yeah, it's starting to clear up just a little bit. You can see a lot of rain, especially to the south actually, but it's all clearing up rather nicely. So maybe by the end we will have some dry running, but for now it is pretty wet out there, safe to say. Well, on your screens right now, well, on my screen anyway, I thought he was going to be on your screens as well, but not at the moment. That's Roland Zooks leading the LMP2 category by a good 1.6 seconds to Kim Pedersen and Gabriel Hevesy, who are very well matched in behind. But I'm looking at the new class, the new category here in the EEWC for 2021. The DPI class has been introduced, and it's ousted the rather unpopular hypercar class, which was really starting to whimper just a little bit. So a fresh injection of a new car and a new sound as well. We'll get an onboard lap with one of these DPIs a little bit later on, and I'll shut up so you can really enjoy the noise, because it is fantastic. 5.5 litre V8 engine, as opposed to the 6.2 litre they originally built that car with in 2017, I think it was. I should know, I've just written an article on it, but I've forgotten. So that was clever of me. But no, you can find that on gtr24h.org if you want to check that out, read a bit more about the car, and read about a little bit more about the teams that will be driving it throughout the latter portion of this season. One of the teams is on your screen right now, Team Viaducton, driving in the number 1 car, because they are the reigning hypercar champions, let's not forget, overall champions of the EEWC, so they were granted number 1, and I'm afraid they haven't really been number 1 ever since they had a GTE car that was bright orange, and I really like the livery actually, but they failed to score a single point to my knowledge in the GTE category this season when they were driving it anyway. So yeah, that's unfortunate for them, I guess. But fresh car for them, and hopefully they'll be able to put it to good use. I've just gone in the pit lane at the moment, so that's the end of Matthias Stair for the moment. I believe it was Matthias Steyer anyway, although he's not entered to the driver list that I saw. But I mean, it could have just misread the name, to be quite honest with you. It was Marcus Steyer, actually. But yeah, anyway. So maybe a couple of other drivers will be joining those three. I was just talking a little bit about those the people who will be driving that car. Mikael Sigurd, who was entered into, or Sigurd, maybe I should say, because that's the guard at the end, and he's Danish, so maybe that's how I'll say it. But anyway, he's the only returning driver, kind of moved over from the GTE car that they had. Or at least to my entry list anyway, is the only one who's been moved over. Apologies if I misplaced my words here and kept things wrong, but no, to my knowledge, he is the only one to have been moved over. Alexander Hartvig is also moved, well, not moved over, but he is driving that Viaducting car, or will be. He's a kart racer in real life, does a lot of karting. Yeah, that's so good for him, and good to have him on the team as well. And finally, I've got Nicholas Mork on there as well. I believe they're all that's an entirely Danish team as well. The GTE car certainly was. There's somebody going for a spin through the grass there. The 777 was going for a little bit of a spin through the grass. There's Carl Likegor of DSR Nightmare, just behind the 15 Duties Motorsport Club car. An interesting moment as well to see that Henry Sinnick in the DPR car, is going to get some getting used to, isn't it? In the hypercar is how much faster than the LMP2s? If not, I don't think he actually has gone faster than the LMP2s for the moment, and he hasn't in that satellite racing car. So that's interesting to see that when the rain falls, the DPRs clearly can't cope with it too well. At least to early viewing. Maybe he might be sandbagging, holding something a little bit back, but yeah, not ultra encouraging to begin with. That car, the 65 satellite racing car, is the one he'll be driving, I believe. He'll certainly be driving one of the VRS satellite racing cars anyway, in the remainder of the season. I believe he won the 24 Hours of Spa 2 years ago. At GTR. Former Drillers esports driver, let's not forget, and that team unfortunately disbanded after I think it was in April or May, a couple of months ago now anyway, and so it left a lot of left a lot of talented drivers a little bit stranded. Apologies for the choppy images over the last few moments, by the way. We're just getting a lot of people connecting because official practice has just begun 20 minutes ago, as you can see, and yeah, it's a bit of a mad dash to get out there and get onto the server, so that's why we are seeing some chops, but yeah, apologies for that. It will even out and smoothen out over the next few minutes. Just continuing on with the satellite racing talk, James Zuru was another one of those from Drillers who was forced to find another team, and yeah, he's joined satellite racing, at least for the EEWC. They've also got the help of Jimi Nisula of Finland, very experienced in GT cars, but trying it. Well, I don't know if it's something new for him really, driving a prototype, but it certainly is a change to what we saw him driving last year in the EEWC. He was in a GTE satellite racing, right up there in Le Mans, I seem to remember, through the early hours of the evening. Through the early hours of the morning. Ossian was coaching me on how to pronounce Finnish names, and I think I got there in the end. But yeah, it's a very good driver to have on their team, and they'll also have Liam Rance as well, who, according to my entry list, is in both cars. I can't see him driving both of them, but you never know. He's a British driver, and yeah, has recently had some GT challenge experience on R-Factor 2, the RF2 GT Challenge series recently. Well, not recently, but certainly over the last few months has been in force, and Liam Rance was a driver for that series. So yeah, he's on that team as well. On the other team, 64, that light racing team, they've got Ryan Nash as well. Mostly British team, actually, the other car. However, they've got Mario A. Rodriguez as well to kind of accompany them. He's a Spanish driver with 18 years of sim racing experience, according to my numbers. So yeah, that's an awful lot. And very, very experienced, quite clearly, at what he does. Also got very experienced David Nichols, actually, with over 10 years experience in sim racing. So yeah, they're all entered for that light racing. Whether we'll see them or not over the next weekend is a mystery, but we'll wait and find out, of course. A couple of GT cars on the screen, or trying to anyway, because we've got a fantastic GTE Championship fight coming up, and I guess we can talk about that just a little bit over the next few minutes. Currently, World of Sim Racing are leading the championship with 50 points to their name. Not finished outside of the top 5 so far, but neither of DISSR Lab and the 45. They're only 7 points back. Sandwiched in between them is Musto GE Esports, 4 points back. Volante Racing, 9 points back. For a podium at Silverstone and a 4th place in Sebring. And the 54 Musto GE Esports car finding its feet in this season as well, with a 2nd place at Sebring. They're 16 points down. So the top 5 separated by 16 points, the top 4 by 9 points. It's ridiculous in GTE at the moment. Very, very close. And all up for grabs, certainly, in that category. Yeah, all of the championships are really wide open, to be fair, because DPI have been reset heading into this race, so it's a completely clean slate for those guys. And it's very close in all the others, really. LMP2 Varga are kind of running away with it a little bit, but not majorly. In terms of well, the battles behind are quite good, and there are some lots of battles going on behind for 2nd place. So that is interesting. Not entirely sure if everybody at home has lost pictures as well, but I have, certainly, from the stream. Oh, the pictures will be back in a minute, so yeah, I shouldn't worry about that. So I was confused for a moment about everything that was going on. Here we are. I can still see what's going on out there at the moment. The DISSR Lab car, the first GTE to put a time on the board here today. I'm sure there'll be more coming up very shortly, but yeah, for the moment there's not too many of them out there right now. See where they are. Yeah, they've not even made their way through all the GT3 cars, actually. As we have a change in LMP2 at the moment. Zoltan Boda in the Mugen Sim Racing 22 has currently gone to 1st, just 1/10 in front of Roland Zooks, who did previously have the best time for DAC Hackers. Yeah, at the moment, DISSR Lab would be 2nd if they were a GT3 car, but they're in GTE at the moment. And it's Mugen Sim Racing leading in GT3 as well, 1, 2, 3. Varkingi 1st, and Dark Dsnet and Danam Surej in 3rd. It's somewhat surprising to see Surej in 3rd, actually, compared to his teammates. He's normally the fastest driver of those, but not on this occasion, apparently. mostly Hungarian team, let's not forget, are Mugen Sim Racing. And I don't know if they still are, but we're looking for a sponsor to kind of keep things going. I don't know if they still are, but yeah. That was an article released quite a while ago on the GTR24h.org as well, that they were. Looks like it to me that it's drying up at the moment. I'm not entirely sure if it's still raining or whether it's lightening up. Spray definitely still being kicked up by these guys, but yeah, the rain does seem to be going away from what you can see in the bottom left-hand side of the screen. I need to have a look actually whether there's going to be rain at all this weekend on Saturday or Friday. Friday or Saturday, as most normal people would say. I'll have a look. That really would spice things up. No rain last year. Being rain at any point last year at all, actually, in the race sessions anyway. In Sebring it was definitely not raining, and here it wasn't. Matsusaka I'm not entirely sure about because I wasn't there for that, but yeah, I don't believe we saw any rain. But no rain so far this season in a race anyway. We've got some rain in practice though. Shouldn't affect these guys too much in the grand scheme of things. And it would be good to get some practice in the rain as well, just in case it does in the race. There's rain throughout the week, in a sentence on the website. What does that include Friday and Saturday or not? It's going to be lightly raining for the rest of the evening apparently here today. So yeah, we'll wait and see. It does, but the spray certainly does seem to me that it's getting a little bit less frequent. And it's getting a little bit easier for the, well, easier, say in inverted commas really. Slightly, very slightly easier for all these guys. Not too much traffic out there at the moment to negotiate and trip up on, so yeah, that looks all alright. And you're not likely, well, yeah, it can be difficult in the rain. Obviously you can't see where you're going because of the spray, but the limited amount of traffic is helping that, I suppose. LMP2 coming up on the back of Viking E at the moment. It seems to be on a bit of a longer run. Now these guys will be worrying too much about qualifying, just getting themselves up to speed in the traffic at the very least. Would be a good thing. Like well, it looks a little bit like Varga for a minute, but then whipping to the other side, it's got kind of a black and orange look to it. Can't quite identify it for the moment, but easily on by. Yeah, that Porsche getting continually pushed down in the standings. Meising goes for is that a spin? Yes it is, I'm afraid. Goes spinning around at turn 6. Seen a lot of that so far, especially from the Unison Racing cars actually. Even before we came to air, saw them struggling. So yeah, it looks like they are having a couple of problems out there at the moment. They're leading the championship in GT3. 69 points to their name. And yeah, not finished off the podium just yet. Weren't happy with their Aston Martin and the BOP as well in Sebring. But every team likes to complain about BOP, so it's not specific to them. That's just a natural race driver thing to do, really. It's nothing against them, or indeed any of the teams. But it just does happen from time to time. Let's see if they'll have a stronger race this weekend. But we're about half an hour into official practice right now, so We're going to take a quick commercial break, and then when we come back, we'll have more official practice from the 12 hours of the Nürburgring.
Endurance E-Racing World Championship 12 Hours at Nürburgring is presented in partnership with Global Flicks, Film Volt, Viper Gaming by Patriot, ESTV, and Motorvision.tv.
Racing for Green is here to help you carbon neutralize your racing. By planting new trees, Racing for Green offers to make your racing carbon neutral. We already have the calculations, contacts, infrastructure, deals and solutions ready for you to easily buy carbon neutral laps on any racetrack. It doesn't matter if you are a racing fan, team owner, driver, sponsor or partner. Anyone can buy CO2 neutral laps in the Racing for Green webshop and trade CO2 emissions for New Forest. Racing for Green.
A 1v2 for the tournament. Pressure is on.
Welcome back to the EEWC's fourth round, the 12 hours of Nürburgring, excuse me. We're in official practice at the moment with Daniel Wisner leading in LMP2, Henry Sinek in DPI, the DISSR lab car in GTE, and Donat Diesner's 41 Mugen Sim Racing McLaren in GT3. Daniel Wisner is having a fairly big off actually, coming out of turn number 10, I think that is. It's turn number 11. Vorsteiner curve, according to the back map that I have in front of me. Could be wrong, because these names often change by the minute almost. Isn't often useful for us, but the car spun off actually there. Didn't see quite who it was, but yeah, tricky conditions certainly out there at the moment. Wisner getting in front of very competitive LMP2 field that was very, very close actually, but it's not particularly anymore because he's just gone 2 seconds in front of everybody. It was Dalton Boda, I think. No, sorry. Might have been Varking who spun off in that camera shot I saw not so long ago. Got back going again now, though. And yeah, they'll see what they can do about Varga Sim Racing. As I mentioned, they're 46 points adrift with 100 still on the table. Is anybody's championship in all of the classes. But yes, a long way back for those guys. Very, very long way back. Arguably, well, not arguably, it does have the biggest margin, actually, does the LMP2 class in terms of their standings, so one to watch out for and maybe close as the race goes on. As I mentioned, Donat Diesner is leading in GT3, but Zoltan Varking is second. This is the 41 Mugen Sim Racing car. They're second in the championship currently. 14 points down on Unison Racing. One Move Esport are in third place, having scored a victory at Sebring. Despite some, if you remember the late drama with Mugen Sim Racing, they were chasing down the French team. Couldn't quite get there, ended up in the wall before they did. That was the end of that for them. So yeah, 14 and 15 points respectively. 28 points down, Danish Racing League in their number 13. 3 top 5 so far. In fact, all of the teams in the top 5 in the championship have 3 top 5s. There's been no poor races from any of them. It's that Unison Racing have got 2 victories and 3 podiums. They have been the strongest so far. So yeah, and Glam Racing are in 5th place. They're in the championship, 30 points adrift. And as I was about to say that, we've got team boss, the team boss from Glam Racing in the 404. Have come to join us. As I'll just give Maria the power to speak here. Let's do that. There we go. Welcome along. It's great to have you along. Team manager, of course, of the 404 Glam Racing team. You've had 3 4th places so far, and I guess the obvious question at this point, because you haven't managed it so far, is when are you going to get the podium? Is it going to be this weekend? I'm sure that's what you're hoping for, but how confident are you of getting that podium this weekend at the Nürburgring?
Oh, well, I am personally hoping for it because it is my birthday on Sunday after the race, so I do hope the boys get it in, but it's been tough. We had some tough races so far, big ups and downs, but yeah, I'm hoping that we will get it in at some point, so yeah.
Yeah, it's been a difficult season in some ways, but 3 4th places, not a bad result. Who's going to be on the roster for you this weekend? Who's going to be doing a lot of the driving? Have you even worked that out yet? What's the situation with drivers, etc.?
Well, all of our 4 drivers are driving. We do have one driver half down. He has a bad shoulder, so we'll see how much he will drive, but Callum, Henrik, Jeff and Lee will all be driving this race like they always do, so they are a great team together. They work together great, have a good chemistry, and yeah, know each other's way of racing, so yeah.
Yeah, very important, of course. I mean, at the moment, as we can all see and as we can all tell quite easily, it's raining at the moment. Would that play into your guys' favour? You know, would you like some rain on race day as well, or would you rather we got it all out of the way in practice or not?
Oh, I don't know. I actually, I do know they have trained a bit in rain, but everyone loves a bit of rain because it mixes up everything. But it also, yeah, I don't know. Hopefully a dry race, but a bit of rain in there would also make it fun.
Yeah, certainly. Well, it certainly would for spectators. I don't know about teams who have your
Right.
heart in your mouth the whole time. But yeah, we'll see how that develops when we get round to it on Saturday. Yeah, one final thing. I guess it's the last 12-hour race of the season. 24-hour races are coming up. As we've mentioned, you haven't managed to crack the podium yet. Unfortunately, this weekend it might happen for you. But do you think the 24-hour race is coming up at Spa and the Le Mans will suit you more? Does a longer attritional race suit the team a little bit more, or would you say that it's just a bit more of a nightmare for you to get your heads around than a 12-hour race? Which ones do you prefer as a collective?
I do know that my husband Henrik, he just does love the 24-hour races, so I don't, we are looking forward to those. The other guys, I don't personally know what their preference is, but I am personally also a 24-hour race gal, so yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So.
Yeah, certainly. It's going to be great. We look forward to seeing you there, Maria. Thanks very much for coming to talk to us.
Can I say one last?
Oh, go on. Yes, it is, of course.
Yeah, because we have decided here at Glam Racing that we are actually doing charity for the last 3 races.
All right.
So we are gathering money for a child hospice here in Denmark. So I just want to point it out, if anyone wants to help, they can go to GoFundMe at GoFundMe.com and search for Glam Racing. It will come up there. So if you like just £1 or $1, it would help a lot.
That's great. That's great to hear. Yeah, make sure you head your way over there and help out, because that'd be great to raise some money as well. Yeah, thanks for coming to talk to us, and good luck with everything you're doing as well with the charity, and good luck for the weekend racing as well.
Yeah, good weekend for you as well.
Thanks very much for coming to talk to us. It's great to hear from some of the teams. Don't forget, if you are driving, pop yourself in the green room, and we will bring you in for an interview as we have just done. So we'll hopefully have a couple more of those throughout the rest of the weekend. Oh well, the rest of the weekend, rest of the day as well. So still 1 hour and 15 just over remaining in official practice, and great to hear from team boss Maria at Glam Racing. Didn't realise they were fundraising for charity as well. It's a great cause as well. Hopefully at some point during the race and the qualifying we'll be able to post the link in the chat and you can help out in any way that you can for that cause, because it'd be great to get behind them, etc. So yeah, we'll try and do our best with that one over the weekend as it pans out. But as we were talking about there, not quite managed to crack the podium just yet. Maybe this time it will be finally their weekend, really. Going to need some issues for those around them, but they certainly have the pace as well to put in a good performance. And we'll see if they can come out with it. All 4 of their drivers will be there, and we look forward to seeing them. It's split them good 3 hours of racing each along the weekend, which will be good for them all, of course. I was trying to get a view as Zoltan Boda actually in LMP2 has just gone very, very close to bettering Daniel Visner. 86 thousandths of a second between those two in LMP2 at the moment. It's very tricky, very small margins. But in GTE, I've just noticed World of Sim Racing have now arrived at the official practice session, and immediately they've gone straight to the front, or they were. Sorry, they still are actually, by 8 tenths of a second. The ISSR Lab are in second, as Bearing Out pulls off to the side of the road. But it's been a very good early start for them this weekend. big gaps to some of those behind, though. It seems to be Varga and Mugen right at the front, and then Roland Zooks, just as I was saying that, slots himself into second place in those standings. So it's all getting very close. LMP2. Goodness me, 3 teams separated by 86 thousandths. It does bode well for the race. Daniel Wisner still leading that class with a 46.6. The times are significantly down from what we saw earlier on. And we were solidly in the 1 minute 50s, about where Kim Pedersen, Michael Ciccolini are right now. That's where we were, and that time has come down quite dramatically over the last few moments. Go up and have a look at some of these guys in LMP2. He is actually leading overall. Oh, there's a spin for Roland Zooks, just coming out of turn 6, I think that is. And he goes back to the garage. Well, here is the championship leading, current practice session leading, Daniel Wisner at the moment. A couple of weekends ago they clinched their virtual endurance championship title overall, did Varga Sim Racing by pure domination in LMP2. First eSport, the winners of the 24 hours of Nordschleife in the last 2 years. They broadcasted by GTR 24H have been run them quite close for that one, but in the end there was going to be no other winner. They do push that car extremely hard for the entire race, and they do very well indeed. This is a bit of a moment in traffic, getting through on a GT3 and a GTE both all at once. And it gets through on Unison Racing as well. Hungarian driver partnered with Marcel Cincic and Yuri Toman quite often. Did so in the VEC, he's doing so again here in, that's the slide and a half coming out of the final corner, but he does so here in the EEWC as well. Michal Schmiedel also there, lurking in that team, but I don't recall him driving that car at any point yet. May come in handy in the 24-hour races, although they did manage to do, they have done 24 hour races between the 3 of them before. Over that last lap, Wisner did extend his margin to nearly a second over Zooks and Boda. The times are coming down now. 46.6 on the last time around for Daniel Wisner. What I believe is a change as well with B32 Racing in 7th place in GT3. I think they've changed category because they were in an LMP2 car. No, sorry, they've added a second car. I've just been corrected. They're adding a second car to their effort, so they have got a GT3 and an LMP2 car. It's that's also the team we sometimes get on the screen from their pit wall. That's the team with the very multicoloured lights and everything. Maybe it's a different team, but we do get a few views from the pit wall, and B32s is often exceptionally disco. As Daniel Wisner scrapes along the barriers and gets into the pit lane eventually, but had a bit of a problem getting in there. So Roland Zooks now nearly a second down. He's going to need to find a little bit more time, but with the track drying up, I think he will be able to manage that. I want to see Henry Sinek out there again in his DPI car, but couldn't get that onboard lap with him. But at the moment, he's not out there. Donat Diesner's just gone to the front of BT3, the 1:59.9. That's a good second quicker than anybody. Oh, that's a big off at the Michael Schumacher S from Roland Zooks. Ouch. A very fast corner. He can very easily get it wrong, as we've just seen from Roland Zooks. It's up to Zoltan Bowler to maybe try and close the gap down. Racing at the front, although with all respect to Daniel Wisner, he's a very fast driver indeed, but Toman and Chinchik are a little bit better, and they might be able to go a little bit faster. Push Varga even further into the limelight here. Let's see though. Timing screen telling me now that Boda's only 2 temps down, so I don't know what that's all about, but he did improve just there. What is that time? Definitely in second place anyway. I get a look at what the lap time was. 46.8. Being right now, got a good couple of attempts behind where he was before. But while we can't get an on board with the DPI of Henry Sinnick just yet, as the rain is easing off just a little bit, let's have a little bit of an on board with Zoltan Boda in the LMP2 here at the Nürburgring. Being ever so slightly held up here by the 766. I think that's DSR Dream Team car. It is indeed. Right down the inside. Not sure which of the drivers that is actually, whether that's Michael Ciccolini or who that is. Kim Pedersen maybe. But it'll be Bo Christensen, he's out there as well, but they're currently going side by side anyway. Not great for lap time, but he's practicing that part of the race, which is sure to happen at some point in the side-by-side racing through the Mercedes arena. You'll be able to see a lot of it on Saturday. We'll be broadcasting all 12 hours live, including half an hour before the race, and we'll be talking to some drivers for a few minutes afterwards as well on Saturday. So yeah, make sure you join us. It'll be about 11:30 a.m. EST when we begin, and it will all end about 12 hours later, of course. Myself and Yusuf bin Zahir will probably be there all day, I'd imagine, with the only two around. Alex Goldsmith's going to be here tomorrow for qualifying alongside Yusuf, but he's not available for the race. Or we may end up just being us two for 12 hours, me and Yusuf. We'll see how that goes. Looking like that may be the case for the moment, but we'll see. So qualifying will be beginning about 7 p.m. CST tomorrow, 7 p.m. in Europe. Have a 2-hour qualifying session and then a very short break before a second session of 2 hours, one in the daytime and one in the night time. And the average of those two times will give us the grid for this race. At the moment it looks like it could be fairly close between some of these cars, although Vargas Sim Racing just pushed themselves a little bit further out from the rest with a lap time there. 8 temps better off than Zoltan Boda right now. Roland Zooks in third. But Roland Zooks is not in third. That's Dylan Claver in the 15. Zooks Motorsport Club just sneaking himself in front of Zooks there. I'll have to speak with Nick about Claver is new or not really. I haven't seen him driving for Juices before. That's a trip across the gravel for him. He's back on the road. We've played for another Juices Motorsport Club cars before we get to Gabriel Hevesy in 6th. Fairly long way back to DSR Dream Team in behind though. Claver apparently only been sim racing for 1 year from the Netherlands. Currently talking with Nick and Roy de Munich in the TeamSpeak server right now. Nick going to give me a little bit of information on Dylan. Wow, he really is quite young actually. 16 years of age and got sixth form or A-levels or whatever you want to call it, college maybe you call it, wherever you are in the world. But anyway, he starts that part of his life in September, even younger than me. Though, well, so is Toon Lower actually. They've got a very young team of Juices Motorsport Club. And then they've got Nick to kind of balance it out on the average age. Hopefully you didn't hear that. But yes. He does have a very young team on his hands. Nick with Toon Lower and Dylan Claver as well. I didn't quite realise, but Dylan, another one of those young but very quick drivers indeed. As we were watching Gabriel Hevesy here, he's just gone to the top of the standings in LMP2. Oh, Nick did hear me say that. I'm sorry, Nick. but yeah, there we go. Gabriel Hevesy has just gone to the front of LMP2. Mugen Sim Racing looking very promising here in practice. 33 thousandths of a second down to Daniel Visnet. Stolten Bowler in third, Roland Zooks fourth, Dylan Claver in fifth for Nick Newcomb in 6th place. Really a respectable showing actually from Nick. So yeah, it's driving well so far in the rain. Good to see. As I mentioned earlier on, he will be accompanying Toon Lower throughout the first few hours of the race. He'll have the assistance of Starbakis and also somebody else, Dylan Claver, who will be able to be there as well. We'll see a bit of Nick on Saturday, early on. I don't believe, well, he might be there for Spa. I'm not entirely sure if he's going to be there for Spa or not, but it's often in race direction, as you may well have heard. Directing everybody on what to do in the race, but yes, so Nick's just given me some good news actually in the TeamSpeak. Of course, well, it seems like it wasn't that long ago really, but it was over a year ago, probably 15 months ago now, that Nick caught COVID at the very start of the crisis. Well, not the very start, but near the start, certainly in the UK, around March time. And still feeling the effects, but getting better. And just that he's 95% recovered now, which is great news. I remember a time he was saying to me that struggling to do 20 minutes in the car at one point, but now setting himself up for a 12-hour race. Not alone, you understand, but we'll be doing a fair amount of driving over the weekend, and that is great to see. The kind of fact that he is recovering now, supporting the youngsters as he puts it, as I put it as well earlier on. Toon Lower only 16 years of age, and Dylan Claver also 16, both from the Netherlands. And Nick will be there as well. I believe Zarbakis will be there as well in the race. So, yeah, they've got a strong team. This is Motorsport Club in the 15. That's the LMP2 car. Currently second place in the championship. And fourth and fifth 5th and 6th in the standings in practice right now. Well, we're halfway through official practice at the moment. 1 hour gone, 1 hour still to go though, so make sure you come join us after the break. We'll have more racing from the Nürburgring coming up. You're watching official practice for the 12 hours of the Nürburgring, and we'll be back in a couple of moments.
Endurance E-Racing World Championship 12 Hours of Nürburgring is presented in partnership with Global Flicks, Film Volt, Viper Gaming by Patriot, ESTV, and Motorvision.tv.
Racing for Green is here to help you carbon neutralize your racing. By planting new trees, Racing for Green offers to make your racing carbon neutral. We already have the calculations, contacts, infrastructure, deals and solutions ready for you to easily buy carbon neutral laps on any racetrack. It doesn't matter if you are a racing fan, team owner, driver, sponsor or partner. Anyone can buy CO2 neutral laps in the Racing for Green webshop and trade CO2 emissions for new forest. Racing for Green.
A 1v2 for the tournament. Pressure is on.
Welcome back to the final hour of official practice for the 12 hours of Nürburgring in 2021. My name's Ewan O'Leary, I'll be here for the final hour. And yeah, we've got plenty of cars out there at the moment. Most of them are LMP2s. We've got 15 LMP2s you can see on the left hand side at the moment. Oh, there's also Varking spinning off in a wild way there at the Mercedes Arena. That's a rather big crash for such a slow corner, but there you go. Just over 10 GT cars split between 3 GTEs at the moment and 8 GT3s on the circuit. And there is a hypercar connected, there's a DPI car connected to the server. However, Henry Sinek has not driven for a fair amount of time. 48.6 most recently. Only looking at the newly entered B32 Racing GT3 car. They've had an LMP2 all season, and See how they're doing in the standings. They've got 10th place from Indianapolis and 9th place from Silverstone and 6th place from Sebring. Things steadily improving for them. I think of those teams who you really don't expect much of, B32 Racing had a really good run in Sebring. Maybe a top 5 is possible this weekend. Either in GT3 or LMP2 or both. You never know. Don't forget, they were driving a GT3 last season. And 5th in the end, in the you get 2020 standings. 3rd at the Matsusaka 24 Hours, a podium for them on that occasion. But struggling down in 8th place at the moment. In GT3. Really is all going on in LMP2 at the moment though. That's a big slide and a not great way to take the Mercedes Arena. So I'm going to whiz down to LMP2 here because it's the right battle. There's a lot going on in LMP2. Dalton Boda is leading again. Roland Zux is back into 2nd. He's only 3 tenths down on Boda with Varga pushed down to 3rd. I don't know if Varga are going to be worried at all by this. There is the driving lineup for Mugen Sim Racing. Gabor Hevesi, Zoltan Varkingi, Dalton Boda, Christopher Kienek, Eric Kaloksai, all entered. All Hungarians, I believe. And I didn't have that much all that information on them really going into this season, other than Kaloksai being an FSR Academy champion in 2020. That's the 3rd division of FSR. But he's driven in the World Championship before, which is the top division, and places well, often. He is one of the best. And it seems that this car is one of the best at the moment. Whether they can keep it up for 12 hours in whatever conditions they're thrown at there, or are thrown at them there, is another question really, but certainly got their weekend off to a good start. Little bit of oh my word, that's a strange accident for Zoltan Boda. Rear end flung up into the air. He misses the Schumacher S there. Didn't see that first time around, but a couple of issues for Boda. Roland Zux still in 2nd, 3 tenths down. It's Daniel Visner also 3 tenths down. Gabor Hevesi's 5 tenths down, and then that starts to get a little bit bigger. Martin Mergeli is just under 2 seconds down in 5th. Gone for DAC Hackers, and then Dylan Claver is in 6th. Another 7 tenths back. 2.7 down on the leader, Zoltan Boda. To try and find a GT car to have a bit of a lap on board with, or at least some time. Oh, actually, scrap that, because we have the DPI out there on the circuit right now. Henry Sinek is out there in the 64 VRS satellite racing car. The first real look we've had on the stream, other than very, very much earlier on, of the new DPI class in the EEWC for 2021. And as I mentioned earlier, very, very big V8 engine in the back of this car, and it produces a pretty fantastic noise. So we'll get to that. Oh, that's very close on the stream. You can just see there with one move, but I've just spotted we've got a driver in the green room at the moment, so I'll bring him in a moment. Just got to find the Unison racing car so that we can take a look at their car while we're having an interview with them. There's one of the Aston Martins, but that's Glam Racing. seems that Unison Racing aren't out there at the moment. I think maybe because they're coming to talk to us, so we'll come and do that now and drag Nikolai Bezrakov into the booth. There we are. And we'll have an interview with Unison Racing's Nikolai Bezrakov. Welcome along, Nikolai. It's good to have you here in the booth. How are things going into this weekend? You said to me at the start of the Sebring weekend in practice, or I think it was actually in qualifying, but you said to me that you weren't particularly happy with the way the Aston Martin was behaving, and you were starting to fall out of favour with it ever so slightly. What's the feeling in the car going towards this race here this weekend? Are you much more happy with the balance this weekend, or are you still struggling a little bit?
Actually, in our team, we all have problems with this car. And after last BOP, it became really slow from the last times. And we are struggling a lot with the balance, with the speed, and most with the braking.
Yeah, so, well, that's just a little bit disappointing to hear, I suppose. I mean, things can't have been too bad at Sebring. You did manage to get P3 out of the weekend anyway, even though you said that things weren't great in the car. P3 is still not a bad result. You're leading the championship at the moment. And looking around at your rivals, who are you kind of looking at as main rivals? I mean, you've got to be thinking about the championship at this point. We're halfway through and you're in the lead. Who are you looking at as maybe your rivals for the championship?
Okay, firstly about our Sebring race. This was a disaster because after first lap we already lose 1 lap and a half, I guess, after 3 crashes in a row on the first lap. And although we are leaders of the championship, in the first 2 races we were very lucky, and our rivals just disappeared by themselves. But in Sebring, Team Mugen was very good, and we think that we are our main rivals in championship. We hope that we can continue our winning path, but it will be really hard.
Yeah, certainly. I actually forgot that you had those issues in Sebring, to be fair. So yeah, that was not a good start for you, but you're 3rd place in the end, and you are still leading the championship. As you can see out there at the moment, things are starting to dry up a little bit, but you know it is still raining, and there is still water out there. Come Saturday and the race, would you like to see a bit of rain out there, or does that make all of your problems even worse, having rain out there on the circuit?
Okay, it depends on driver, because I think that I and Max Bunovic are okay with the rain, and maybe even faster in these conditions on this circuit, on this car, just this weekend. But for example, Alexander Zakirov struggling with his driving now, and so we have no idea will it be good for us or just even worse.
Yeah, that's fair enough. It could be very unpredictable, certainly, for everybody really. One final thing as well, since you weren't here last year for the 12 hours of Nürburgring, how are you looking forward to the race? How's the traffic going to be? Given you're in the GT3 car, you're getting passed by all these cars. You're going to be passed by the DPI cars as well for the first time this season. How are you imagining the traffic is going to go this weekend?
If the race will be on dry circuit, I think all will be okay, because all drivers really know what we are doing, and we are all professionals, I think. But at raining conditions, especially when only one line is able for all cars, it will be really difficult, and first sector will be the hardest in these conditions for overtaking lapped car.
Very useful information to know. So thank you for that, and yeah, thanks for coming to join us. It's been great to hear from you, and yeah, I wish you all the best for the rest of this weekend.
Thank you. I really hope that we'll meet again after the finish of a race.
Yeah, I hope to hear from you then. It'd be good to hear from you. Nikolai, thanks very much for coming to talk to us, and yeah, good luck.
Goodbye.
There we are, Nikolai Bezhakov of the Unison Racing team in GT3. Good to hear from those guys, and always up for a chat after the race as well, which is great news for us. It is good to hear from them, especially after they've just won or finished on the podium, because that's what often happens, and that's what's happened for the last couple of races. So yeah, good to see them out there at the moment. But now that we do have a moment, I think it's finally time for us to get our DPI on board and just listen to this Cadillac. Be on board with Henry Sinek in the 64 Satellite Racing DPI car, and yeah, let's just enjoy this on board for the next couple of years. Flashing about a little bit at the moment, but yeah, let's hopefully enjoy this on board for the next couple of moments and really get a taste as to what this DPI category is going to be all about this season. And let's not, because he's gone straight back in the pit lane, so that's frustrating. But not great timing from us, that one. But he just seemed to be having a couple of issues out there at the moment. But Zoltan Boda, no issues for him at the moment. He's still in first in LMP2. And 6 tenths in front of Roland Zooks. In that, yeah, well, the overall standings as well as that category. You can get one of the GTs out there at the moment. This is the 717 that I can see heading down towards the hairpin right now. They didn't have any cars out when we were interviewing Bezhakov a few months ago, but we've got one out there right now. We'll see if they can find some pace from somewhere, really. There's their driver lineup. Roman Kubic involved, Max Spinovic, Nikolai Bezhakov, as we've just spoken to, and a name that I can't quite read on the end there. Screen's quite blurred on my end at the moment. It won't be for you at home, I'd imagine, but I'm struggling to see it because my screen's of lower quality. If I put it up higher, then you won't be able to hear me anymore because I'll be lagging about all over the place, so let's not do that. But fourth place for, well, it says Bezhakov's driving. I don't know if he's just headed straight out. He can't have been talking to us while driving, surely, because he was moving himself around in TeamSpeak, so... But anyway, just that he's out there right now. With one of his teammates just behind in fifth. That's Zakirov, who's in fifth. Alexei Maisin's on the server as well right now. He's only done a 2-minute 2.7 though. I get the feeling he hasn't been on track for a while. Glam Racing seem to be getting stronger as the practice session is going on here. Only getting passed by one of the LMP2s and passing one of the Mugen Sim Racing McLarens. Going into turns 10 and 11. Third place for Callum Wilson, who's often in here for a chat as well. Henrik Hoyer will be partnering him. Lee Russell will be there as well. Jeff Van Island finally. The team boss at Glam Racing, Maria, was telling us that she was looking forward to, and indeed her team, looking forward to the 24-hour races at Spa and Le Mans. That's what we've got coming up here for you on GTR 24H. In August, we have the 24 hours of Spa. Late October, we have the 24 hours of Le Mans, all live in their entirety here on GTR 24H, on all the relevant channels as well. All of our partners broadcasting, or those that do broadcast, are broadcasting what we do. So yeah, you can find us everywhere. Of course, we've got the Hill Climb Championship going on as well. The next round of that is on Monday. A few days away now. I believe we're in Portugal for that one. Can't quite remember the name of the climb on the top of my head, but you should tune in anyway, because they're all pretty mad, all of the hill climbs. And some of the cars are as well, so yeah, you should definitely come and have a look. That is 9:30 European time in the evening on Monday. And check out round 3 of the Hill Climb Championship. And I don't know. Well, I'll have a discussion with the producer, with my producer Peter in the break, whether I can discuss what I was about to say then, because that might be confidential information that I'm releasing. So I'll not do that. I'll wait, and if I can say, then I will after the break in about 10 minutes. But yeah, definitely some exciting times for GTR 24H. Lots of broadcasts coming up. We're at the Rampa di Boticas, by the way, for the hill climb on Monday. That's in Portugal. No, they're a big fan of rallying and such in Portugal as well. So that's probably quite a big event. But a lot of the hill climbs have been halted due to 2020. Well, when I'm doing my research, often finding out previous winners, and often you find that the last time there was one even held was 2019, unfortunately. Completely interrupted last year. So we take for granted sometimes in motorsport that we got a lot of racing last year, to be fair. 17 round F1 season, and you know, all the major endurance races took place, like Le Mans and Nürburgring Spa, they all took place. And we didn't have Bathurst, but I know we haven't had it this year, but you know, we had a very decent World Endurance Championship and IMSA Championship. But you've got to remember, some sports might not have been so lucky that we have been. And of course, sim racing has been very lucky over 2020, even though I guess we've all been a little bit unlucky with the way things have panned out. Sim racing has certainly taken a very big rise to the fore, and so has the EEWC, I guess. Within 2020, since the start of the season and Le Mans at the end, I think we had pretty much double the cars on the grid, and almost more than double, or definitely more than double people watching at home as well. So it's big improvements made in a lot of areas for sim racing as a whole. Now, I suppose that's one positive can be taken from all of that. Currently looking at DISSR Lab, GTE Porsche for those guys. I guess since we didn't get our on board earlier with the DPI, might as well listen to this Porsche because it's not bad either. Windscreen wiper going, track conditions improving, but still damp, still tricky for the 45 car. Let's listen to the Porsche and watch this car wrestle its way around the Nürburgring GP circuit. little bit of a laggy moment for the Porsche, but still going around all fine in the end. And while we were on board there, set a new best time in GTE, 54.8 for those guys. Puts me in front of Guillaume Mas, who's in second in GTE. Sorry, Jose Berenguer is in second in GTE, and then Guillaume Mas in third, 3 tenths adrift. So yeah, good. Oh, there's a bit of contact there. Berenguer getting the hurry up from one of the LMP2s. It's either the 766 or the 777. I can't quite work out which one just for the moment. I think it might be the Dream Team car. Down the inside. Finally gets through without too many issues, but a little bit physical a moment ago. This Wood a sim racing car, by the way, is leading the championship in GTE, in the closest one we have at the moment in the EEWC. 9 points separate the top 4. Wood a sim racing, the ISSR lab, haven't been outside of the top 5 yet this season. The victory in Sebring has brought them this championship lead, overhauling the 53, who were only managed 7th, and the 45 only managing 5th in that race. But it's all very, very close, and they'll be playing for 1 point tomorrow when we go qualifying for the 12-hour race. 1 point for pole position in the EWC, let's not forget. 1 point for finishing the race, and then depending on where you finish, you do get a point for your finishing position as well. Or multiple points, depending on where you are. Nick Newcomb out there on the circuit again. 10th place for Nick at the moment in the Deuces Motorsport Club number 15. He'll be accompanying Toon Lower, Dylan Klaver, both 16 years old from the Netherlands, and also Sabek Kiss as well, who's not being in practice at the moment, but been reliably informed from Nick himself that Sabek Kiss will be joining us 6 hours into the race. So he'll be doing a fair amount of driving in those final 6 hours, presumably maybe a couple of double stints that might bring him up to 3 hours. A couple of double stints with a bit of Dylan Klaver in there, I'd imagine. Toon Lower being used up at the start of the race, and Nick accompanying him. Nick just goes back to the pit lane after a quick mistake. Here's the 95 of Patrick Attia Lucas. DEAC hackers, excuse me. Completely new team to the EWC in 2021, but making a very good account of themselves indeed. Currently 6th place in this championship, but only 7 points down on second, so they can definitely move up over this weekend. And we'll see if they can, of course. Oh, one of the cars off on the left-hand side there, but not too much to worry about. Unfortunately, I was searching for the DPI car. Unfortunately, I think that Henry Cynic is no longer on the server, just as things stand, so we'll get a good view of the DPI tomorrow and indeed on Saturday as well, but for the moment we'll have to say goodbye to it. We're in the final half of official practice now, by the way, as well, so not very long to go. Only 30 minutes remaining on the clock. We're going to take one final quick commercial break before this practice session ends, and when we return, we will have the final part of official practice.
partnership with Global Flicks, Film Volt, Viper Gaming by Patriot, ESTV, and Motorvision.tv.
A 1v2 for the tournament. Pressure is on.
Racing for Green is here to help you carbon neutralize your racing. By planting new trees, Racing for Green offers to make your racing carbon neutral. We already have the calculations, contacts, infrastructure, deals and solutions ready for you to easily buy carbon neutral laps on any racetrack. It doesn't matter if you are a racing fan, team owner, driver, sponsor or partner. Anyone can buy CO2 neutral laps in the Racing for Green webshop and trade CO2 emissions for New Forest. Racing for Green.
Welcome back to the final part of official practice for the 12 hours of the Nürburgring. Coming up this weekend, starting from midday in Europe on Saturday with qualifying, starting at 7 p.m. in Europe tomorrow. But a 4.5 hour broadcast with Alex Goldschmidt and Yusuf Bin Sahel taking you through qualifying tomorrow. So looking forward to that. But in the meantime, Roland Zooks is leading official practice. He's just taken the lead as we were at the commercial break there. Got 3 temps over Gabriel Hevesy, who's got not very much time at all over Zoltan Boda. They're teammates, by the way, in Mugen Sim Racing. Certainly forming a front 3 in LMP2 with EEWC Hackers. Roland Zooks has just gone off. Mugen Sim Racing, Vargas Sim Racing as well, who all seem to be right up there and will be fighting for the race win this coming weekend on Saturday especially. In GT3 I've just noticed that Alexander Zakharov has just found a bit of pace as we look at the DPI car now of Henry Sinek, because he is back out there again. Very nice satellite racing livery, by the way. I'm a fan, but I'm not a fan of the spin, and he won't be a fan of it either, I'm afraid. Searching for a safe place to get going again, and decides that that place is probably the pit lane. Modern Motorsport recently just got on the server as well, by the way. We're seeing a bit of them. Yeah, Unison Racing, Alexander Zakharov. into third place, just ahead of Bezrukov. They're only 2 and 7 tenths down on the Mugen Sim Racing duo as things stand. So yeah, a good run out from Zakirov so far, especially considering what we heard from Bezrukov. Here are the championship standings, by the way, going into the 12 hours of Nürburgring. DPI has a completely clean slate, and there will be more teams added to that as and when they score points. LMP2 being led by Varga Sim Racing, 46 points ahead of Deuces Motorsport Club, but as you can see, it's very close behind that. Mugen, Ramada, DSG Motorsport, DAC Hackers, all there, fighting over second place. In GTE, it's the most exciting it ever has been, with Sim Racing leading. 4 teams, though, separated by 9 points in the standings. Musto, GD Sports, DASS or Lamp, but Lante Racing all there as well, with the other Musto car lurking in behind, ready to scoop up some points. One Move Esports are surely due a big result as well, so soon, not being able to even break into the top 5 yet. In GT3 though, they've been having a much better time of things. We won last time out in Sebring. They're 15 points adrift of Unison Racing, who are currently leading the standings, 14 points ahead of Mugen Sim Racing, who have been dominating so far in practice. Danish Racing League 4th ahead of Glam Racing. To my mind, all 5 of those GT3s can still win this title very realistically. So there are your championship standings. Good to see that everybody is out there, and we've got some very interesting championships to settle over the coming weeks of the EEWC. Speaking of coming up, the 24 Hours of Spa is coming to you on the GTR 24H socials, wherever we can be found, on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and everywhere else, everywhere in between. On all of our broadcasting partners will be there at the end of August for 24 hours of coverage from Spa, and we'll be live from Denmark for the LAN event in the Le Mans 24 Hours, where all of the teams and drivers will be there as well. We're 99% sure that that's going to happen at this point. I was told in the break by Peter, the producer behind the scenes, that he's going through and having a meeting tomorrow about that. But we're 99% sure that it can happen, and they will happen as and when it was planned, which is the last weekend in October, I think. It's certainly in the 20s for October, last weekend in October. Yeah, we're looking forward to that. Also looking forward to the GTR 24H Sprint Series, which will be happening, I believe, commencing in August or late July. Certainly late summer kind of commencement of the, or rebooting of the Sprint Series, which had its first season last year. Can't remember when that ended actually, but the passing of time has really been screwed up recently. Started in around May 2020, I think it ended towards the end of last year. And ready for a reboot, ready for a second season of that one. So we're looking forward to that. And also lots of new things to announce that we can't quite just for the moment. Special events and everything in between. We're looking forward to announcing in the next few days. Well, not the next few days, the next few weeks, but keep your eye on all the GTR 24H socials and any articles, announcement articles that might be going up, and announcement videos, preview videos, things like that. So make sure you just subscribe to us on YouTube or follow us on Twitch. We can be found on there as well. Follow us on Twitter. All major announcements and articles and things like that go on there as well. And also Facebook as well, we're on there. So yeah, make sure you follow us around so that you will know about these announcements, which are surely coming up. very, very soon. Daniel Visner retakes the lead in LMP2. We're in official practice at the moment, and it's Varga Sim Racing battling it out with DAC Hackers and Mugen Sim Racing. At the moment, Daniel Visner is prevailing, but it's very, very close. There's the view from the front straight. As you can see, especially on the dry line, not a lot of spray being kicked up here. Basically none from that prototype going through there. So on the line, it is getting quite dry now. And in GT3, we've seen the times tumble by about 5 seconds. Started, it was a pretty big moment when Donas Diesner broke the 2-minute barrier in the early part of this session, but now he's into the 55s, 1 minute 55.6 on the last time for him. Daniel Visner also going faster than he once was, in the low 1 minute 50s before. Now it's a 1 minute 43.3. Give himself the current lead in this session. Pedro Romano recently got on the server, by the way, in the 57. That's the Ramada Motorsport car in that fierce battle for second in the championship, as Daniel Visner goes for a quick spin and a trip into the gravel. A trip back to pit lane as well for him. So just under 20 minutes to go in this session. Roland Zooks is going to do his best to try and get in front of him. Roland Zooks also goes for a spin. One of the Varga drivers had to sort of avoid him there, but these where the conditions are catching a few out. We've also got Ryan Nash on the server, by the way, in the 65 satellite racing cars, but not seen him out on the circuit yet. Let's hope he will be. Hope that we can get a proper onboard with a DPI car at some point here tonight. Oh, there's another spin. Might have been a Ramada Motorsport car, that. It did look a bit Varga, actually, and I'm being told that it was a Varga Sim Racing car. Zakharov and Bezrikov have left the server now, by the way, so they've made their mark on the session. 2 attempts down on Mugen Sim Racing and now have left. But let's not forget, they're only separated by 14 points. Yeah. When the session ends here in official practice in just over 15 minutes time, we'll be taking a commercial break, and then we will be showing the official preview show that's currently available on YouTube, but we'll be showing it live here as part of the official practice broadcast. Alex Goldschmidt and Yusuf Bin Sahel previewing the weekend's action. We did plan to get it out a little bit earlier, but certain things have tripped us up and got in the way, and so it was only just released just as we were commencing practice here this evening. But you'll get another chance to see it here at the end of the practice broadcast. We'll stick it on to the end. It's about half an hour preview show with Alex and Yusuf. Alright, yeah, make sure you stick around and watch that one. And yeah, we're all looking forward to this weekend, certainly. We've had some great racing in the EEWC so far. Indianapolis, let's not forget, the GTE race came right down to the very final hour. The very final pit stops between the old Corvette and the new. Silverstone, we had some great final hour battles in Northern DISSR Lab, I seem to remember. Late drama for Danish Racing League in GT3, and 2 lower holding off a load of guys for a podium. DSG Motorsport, who he was trying to fend off, and he did so successfully. And then in Sebring, the chase between Mugen Sim Racing and One Move Esport in GT3. But he's ended up with Zoltan Boda in the... I think it was Zoltan Boda. Well, it might not have been, because he's driving the LMP2 here this weekend at the moment. But I don't know. What Mugen Sim Racing, either way, found themselves in the wall at turn 1. And despite their pace advantage that they had at that point in the race, they couldn't find that ticket to victory. And they walked away empty-handed, I'm afraid, from that weekend. Well, not empty-handed, I suppose. They did get second place on the day, but not what they were hoping for. Ryan Nash heads out of the pit lane then in the DPI. Not being quite up to pace just yet, but now that we do have a DPI on the circuit, let's finally get a bit of a look and a bit of a listen as to what this Cadillac is like. Oh dear, there we go, off the road. I'm afraid that's a bit of a curse of having our camera on board, I suppose, with Ryan Nash. Goes for a spin at the very fast left-right chicane in the 65, but there we go. Trying to get back on the road right now, and there we are. Just so. It is fantastic to have this car in R-Factor 2 though. One of the DPIs in there. It has become one of the most popular categories in motorsport in the last few years. 2017 was an alright year for DPI, but Cadillac was a little bit overpowered. Quite literally, I suppose, with the 6.2 litre V8 engine that they had. And with Acura joining in 2018, it really was made to be one of the most popular classes. As Nash goes for a spin again, I'm afraid. These conditions, very, very tricky indeed. And yeah, 2018, in my opinion anyway, was the best year of DPI anyway, because we had Cadillac, Acura, Mazda and Nissan all there. Unfortunately, Nissan left after 2018. But hopefully they, or the new category, I can't remember what it's called, LMDH or whatever it's called, is going to be a good new era. And hopefully we get some nice new cars in R-Factor 2 and the other dims well, kind of because of it. Hope so. Obviously can't at the moment because the class doesn't exist yet, but you get the point. Current hypercar class in the WC probably isn't going to last that long, really. It's a bit of a bridging era between LMP1 and LMDH, but we shall see. As I said though, great to have the Cadillac on the sim and great to have satellite racing back really. They did do Indianapolis and came second in that race, but we're never really at the races with that hypercar, and I don't think it was particularly popular with the drivers. So we've reverted to TPI now, and satellite racing have brought two cars along, 64 and 65, as Ryan Nash goes for another spin at the Mercedes Arena, almost identically to how he did before, and then loses it on the exit as well. Or loses it while trying to get back going again. His first look at the only Ligier on the grid, by the way, is, and there's Ryan Nash's spin. A little bit too much speed into turn 3. And loops it around twice before going to the pit lane. E32 Racing, currently 13th in the standings. This is their LMP2 effort, along with their GT3, which they have now added. This is the white LMP2 spun off in the background there. Didn't quite see who that was, though. Oh, and off the road. Dylan Claver. The Dutchman flying, but I'm afraid off the road for a brief moment. Oh no, I've seen a very interesting development in GTE. Might just have to cycle down to this for a moment, if you don't mind. Because that's a bit of a jam in the garage. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to be able to find him actually out there on the circuit, but no, I'm not. Well, this has been embarrassing, hasn't it? Never mind. What I have just seen was Boya Milan getting onto the server in the World of Sim Racing 51 GTE. Well, let's see if my eyes weren't deceiving me. That is Boya Milan. He is on the circuit as well, so I should have been able to find him, but I couldn't. But anyway, I still might be able to. Let's see. Have a look. I can't find him at the moment on the circuit, so we'll not worry about that. But anyway. Well, there's one Porsche leading the... Oh, there is Boya Milan. He drove for Monaco at Le Mans, if you remember, in the GT3 category, and they absolutely annihilated everybody in qualifying. Completely disintegrated the field. It was a good 5 seconds in the end on the average. But and we're never really there in the race. And they didn't end up winning it. So it wasn't to be for them, but Boya Milan was very much at the forefront of that. Qualifying performance especially. Now he's out here for World of Sim Racing. A couple of Spaniards on that team. Well, I'll say a couple. The 4 of them. 4 Spaniards who add to Milan. Very, very well known in the GT scene as being very respectable. Indeed. Jose Beringao, we've seen, he's got in 2nd place. He's Spanish and done very well in the EEWC so far this season. Jordi San Andres is here. Well, he's not here, but he is registered with that car. Alvaro Martinez and Sol Sanchez as well. As we look at the LMP2 standings, it's coming towards the end of official practice. It's Daniel Wisner who's currently leading, ahead of Roland Zooks, Sultan Boda, Marcel Cinchik, who's in 4th now, ahead of Gabor Hevesi. Nick Newcomb is the best of the Juices Motorsport Club drivers, ahead of Pedro Ramada and Dylan Claver. Kim Pedersen is just in 9th. We go to GTE, which is being led by DASSR Lab. Jose Beringao 2nd, and Guillaume Mas is in 3rd. Boya Milan sandwiched between those One Movie Sports drivers in 4th, with Mathieu Decroix, who's just joined, He is in 5th in the GTE standings. We'll be seeing a lot more GTE cars tomorrow and indeed in the race. And probably a few more of these as well, because Mugen Sim Racing are 1-2 right now with Alexander Zakirov just under 2 tenths behind them. Really giving them a run for their money. Nikolai Bezrukov was doing the same. Callum Wilson's in 4th, finding his feet at the moment, and Alexei Mizin just a little bit off the pace, but he will be improved for the race, you can be sure of that one. With B32 Racing's new GT3 car in 6th. Finally, oh, I thought it was going to show us DPI, but it's not. So there's LMP2 again. But there you are, there's the standings. There's Boya Milan, he's just gone in the pit lane. Yeah, DPR's not been going to us, but I can assure you that there's going to be more of those to come as well. Here's Guillaume Mas, by the way. We haven't been able to see too much of One Movie Sports so far, but here they are. As I mentioned, really waiting for that breakthrough in GTE. With people like Guillaume Mas and Mathieu Decroix in their team, they really should be able to put in a good performance, and I think they will do at some point. But really not been able to do what they came for so far. 7th place in Indianapolis, a DNF, and no points to their name in Silverstone. 9th last time out of Sebring. Especially considering the fact that in 2 podiums in GT3 for the One Movie Sports team, and of course they put in a good performance in LMP2 last season, winning at Matsusaka in the 24 hours and getting pole at Nürburgring, let's not forget. They showed themselves to have the pace against teams like Rookie Monsters and ID Sim Sport as well, who were there. They might be a little bit disappointed, but no reason why they can't get up there and get near to the guys like DISSR Lab and Jose Barringaro as well, who's really above them in the standings. There's that traffic jam in the pit lane. Don't know what that's all about, but Ryan Nash back out there again. And there is your leader in GT3. A real pleasant surprise this season. Not that these guys are bad drivers by any stretch of the imagination. As I say that, they're off the road in the gravel, but they have had a good season. They are very good drivers indeed. And that's going to be the end of their practice session, I'm afraid. But they really weren't expecting very much. Moved up from GT3 champions in 2020. But really weren't expecting much in GTE, where things do get a little bit more competitive. No disrespect to the GT3 teams, but there are some very big names in GTE. Let's not forget Musto, GD Esports and Simply Race battling it out all throughout that season. So are up here again. Wood Sim Racing now involved, along with Volante Racing, some real powerhouses of sim racing right up there. Though they've done very well. But for DISSR Lab, and they're going to take victory in official practice. Mugen Sim Racing are going to take a 1-2 in official practice for GT3. And McLaren looking very, very strong indeed, with Alexander Zakirov not too far behind. Nikolai Bezrukov up there as well. Oh, Ryan Nash getting things all a little bit wrong there. But let's take a final look at the standings before we sign off and show you the preview for this weekend. It's Daniel Wisner who has taken the LMP2 category by just over a tenth in the end, in front of Mugen Sim Racing. Apparently the standings aren't a bit shy at the moment, they're not willing to come up. Oh, here we go. We're finally going to get a look. And they've decided to show themselves, and here we are. Daniel Wisner takes it in LMP2 ahead of Roland Zux and Zoltan Boda running out the top three, with Marcel Chinsic just under half a second behind, and Gabriel Hevesi as well. So that's three teams and 5 drivers separated by half a second. Nick Newcomb just under 2 seconds down. Pedro Ramada, Kim Pedersen, Ben Corbin and Christopher Kierneck rounding out the top 10. In GTE, DSSR Lab take the mantle of winning the official practice session ahead of Jose Berenguer. Second, Guillaume Mas third, Boyo Milan in fourth, who's really not had very much time out there on the circuit, and Mathieu de Crot as well, who has had even less time and hasn't even burned a wheel in official practice. And here it is in GT3. Many of these guys have left now, but it's Zoltan Varkingi who's going to be there at the very end to take victory ahead of Alexander Zakirov. Alan Wilson there in third. Alexei Maizin as well in fourth, along with the B32 racing car in fifth, having their very first GT3 race of 2021, having come fifth in the points last season. That's it for official practice then. We've had 2 hours of racing, mostly in the rain. It's just starting to dry up now, but just as these guys are going to be leaving the circuit. We're going to sign off for the evening now, but don't forget to stick around. Coming up after the commercial break, it is the preview show for the 12 Hours of Nürburgring, presented by Alex Goldschmidt and Yusuf Bin Zahel. So make sure you stick around for that. That will be coming up after the break. But from me, for now until tomorrow, it's goodbye.
The Endurance E-Racing World Championship 12 Hours of Nürburgring is presented in partnership with Global Flicks, Film Volt, Viper Gaming by Patriot, ESTV, and MotorVision.tv.
A 1v2 for the tournament. Pressure is on.
Racing for Green is here to help you carbon neutralize your racing. By planting new trees, Racing for Green offers to make your racing carbon neutral. We already have the calculations, contacts, infrastructure, deals and solutions ready for you to easily buy carbon neutral laps on any racetrack. It doesn't matter if you are a racing fan, team owner, driver, sponsor or partner. Anyone can buy CO2 neutral laps in the Racing for Green webshop and trade CO2 emissions for New Forest. Racing for Green.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back after a lengthy hiatus as the Endurance E-Racing World Championship returns here on GTR 24H. Well, welcome to the official preview show. My name is Alex Goldschmidt, and once again, one of my good friends, my partner in crime as always, Yusuf bin Sahal, joins me fresh off of his antics at the BUKC 24 Hours. So getting behind the wheel in real life. But Yusuf, how are things? Are you keeping well?
Yeah, I'm doing quite well. You mentioned, lengthy hiatus, and I thought, well, since we're having a hiatus, I might as well get myself some track time in. But even at GTR, we had that little old Nürburgring at 24 hours, and we've been having some of the hill climb events as well. So I'll be getting in a little bit of racing. But that being said, I'm excited to be getting back to the main event, the Endurance E-Racing World Championship.
Yes, round 4 coming up this weekend, and it is the once around the clock at the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit. Not the Nordschleife that we had just a few weeks ago. Unfortunately, there were some technical issues at the studio, which meant that we weren't able to broadcast the whole of the event. We were really, really looking forward to it. Myself, Yusuf, and you and O'Leary, as well as John and Peter over in Denmark. We were really looking forward to it, but obviously things did happen. We can only apologise about it, but we have to say a big thank you to the teams and the drivers for putting up their relevant Twitch streams. So it meant that you were able to keep up with the action, irrespective of the fact that the main event that we were hosting didn't quite really go off as planned. But apart from that, I mean, Yusuf, it was a really, really good event. We saw that Burst Esports, with the likes of Joni Simoncic, I mean, that qualifying session on the Friday, which myself and Ewan commentated on. Never in my wildest dreams would I see that Joni Simoncic would have decided, right, let's go on a binge of speed in this Audi R8. And they were true to form. They took the overall victory for the second year in succession. And it just goes to show that you have a team like Burst Esports in there. They're not going to take anything lying down, are they?
And we saw it last year, Burst Esports, and I forget who they were with. I think it was Casper Henningsen, who was battling with Jerne, and they were battling for so many hours, just neck and neck. And, well, it was similar again for the 24 hours of the Nordschleife this year. Great to see Jerne out and, where we kind of expect him to be, which is with that rocket-like pace and somewhat dominating. So, yeah, good to see the Nordschleife happening and a fantastic race as well.
And also, speaking of the Nürburgring Nordschleife, news broke earlier on in the past 2 weeks that the late Sabine Schmitz has a corner officially being named after her. It's turn 15, which is the left-hand hairpin, which is, funny enough, not named, and it's just before the right-hander at Hatzenbach. And that effectively becomes official as of the next NLS, what formerly was known as the VLN series. And that will be instigated as of September the 11th. It was something that our very own John Fabricius Terrell was very, very adamant in saying, well, it needs to happen. And when I posted it in the GTR 24H commentators Facebook group, he said, told you. And yes, I do stand corrected, John, but still by the amount of people that managed to make that happen, it did work out in the end. So it's really good to see that's happened, Yusuf. I think that's a real fitting testament to the character and the person that Sabina was, as well as being the only woman to ever have won it. And what's more, she won it in a BMW E36 M3, and she won it 2 years on the trot.
Yeah, and Sabine was a fantastic ambassador, not just for motor racing, not just for Nürburgring, but also for female racers, aspiring female drivers. So it's fantastic that she does have a corner named after her. It's also rather cool that there was still one corner left unnamed. I don't know if there are any more unnamed corners at the Nordschleife, because there seem to be a ton of named corners, and thankfully Sabine is on that list as well now.
Yes, so now we turn our attention. There's been a few developments since the third round at Sebring International Raceway. Firstly, the biggest news that came out of absolutely nowhere, Drillers Esports, now defunct. So quite a few drivers in that team, the likes of James Juba, the likes of Henry Simic, Martin Hemmingson, now having to scurry around and find a new home. So that has really changed things. So along with the Drillers Esports no longer being around, there's been a big change here at GTR 24H because newly announced on the R Factor 2 Endurance DLC, the Cadillac DPI VR is newly instigated, and that becomes our top tier class here at GTR 24H. It means there is a complete clear slate. Obviously, at the last round at Sebring, round 3 back in second weekend of March, if memory serves me correctly. I did say hiatus. I didn't realise it was going to be that lengthy, even with everything that's been going on, Yusuf, as we discussed earlier.
Yeah,
But
very.
very. But we still kept ourselves busy. So the good thing is the Cadillac DPI, it's been used by the likes of Action Express, Wayne Taylor Racing. I know a couple of drivers, the likes of Philippe Albuquerque, have raced this car to success. The Cadillac DPI has won the Rolex Daytona 24 Hours 4 years on the bounce from 2017 to 2020. It's won 19 out of 41 races out of 41 starts. It started with a 6.2 litre V8, a bit like the Mercedes AMG GT3, but then its capacity in terms of engine power has also been reduced. Now, apparently, Omicron Sim Racing were the closest, and I say that with a pinch of salt because we saw how ruthless in terms of aggressive driving characteristics, especially when we saw the likes of, now who was it? Was it Henry Simic that had that massive off and went into the shadow realm? I think it was round 2. Or was it
Casper Henningsen?
I think it was Casper Henningsen. You and I were on commentary at that point, and we saw that
he went over the barrier, wasn't it?
Yes, it went over the barriers. I still remember that. And
that
then,
was round 1, I think.
Oh, that was Indy. That was Indianapolis.
Indy. Yeah, it was.
Oh,
yeah.
And they still came back and won it.
Yeah,
much to the unwanted chagrin of Thomas Garcia. But Omicron are now back. They do have 2 podiums so far this season. They got 3rd at Indy and 2nd at Silverstone. So they're going to have the identical lineup led by Thomas Garcia. And hopefully they're going to look to take victory here at the Nürburgring. However, Satellite Racing, a big name in GTE and GT3, they have made their return. They've also made their intentions clear to return after a 2-round absence. So they went into hypercars, first round of the season, got 2nd, because obviously the dramas for Omicron Sim Racing. They had 2 3-lap penalties. They had 2 return to garages, and that race was one for them to truly forget. But they're looking to enter 2 into the DPI class. That's going to be rather interesting. 64, the number 64 car, Liam Rance, we know, Ryan Nash, David Nichols. And also, they've got a Spanish flair coming to the nigh on all British lineup. Marco Rodriguez joins the crew. But then we take a look at the number 65. James Juba, Henry Simic in that lineup straight away, Yusuf. That is a mouth-watering standout lineup that they've got in both cars. And we haven't even talked about who else is in the 65 because Liam Rance is joining them. So he's running in both cars. And then Jimmy Nisola is also in there as well. But despite having GT experience, that's a cracking lineup for the 65 and the 64 as well.
And I'm interested to see what Satellite can pull out because, you know, when you look at the current Satellite racing team, or the one that had been kind of with us from the start in the GTA E-Class, the 128 car, you know, it wasn't great results. They had a P9 in Indianapolis, no points in Silverstone. Oh, sorry, I don't think they raced in Silverstone, or they had a DNF. And in Sebring, only 8 points. So, you know, this could be a big, you know, call up for them. And now with a team in the DPI class starting from fresher points, you know, it's Pinsim Drillers no longer with us, has kind of given us an opportunity to try out these DPI cars. And I don't think the DPIs are really going to be too much quicker than the LMP2. So there's a chance that the likes of Vargas Sim Racing could even be joining in that battle somewhere. We know how insanely quick they are. And it could just add a little bit of spice to the mix.
Yeah, Marcel Chinchik is one name that instantly springs to mind when you mention Vargas Sim Racing. But then also the final confirmed DPI for this round is Viaductum. Normally runs in a Corvette. You know, they took the championship in 2020 after 2 race victories. They started driving GTE in the brightest, orangest Corvette C8 I have ever seen in my life. I think, you know, when you see like the baby blue, which looks a bit glow in the dark, you see something like that. It was the car that you could always be guaranteed that if you looked up above with Google Maps on a track where GTR 24H was racing, you would see it at least 20 miles out easily. But I mean, the good thing is that, you know, Viaduct. Well, the bad thing is for Viaductum, they haven't had a good round. They haven't had a good championship. 2021 has been a season. The first half of the season, the first 3 rounds, has been one that they definitely want to put like water under the bridge. But then you've got Mikkel Sigurd is the only returning driver from the GTE crew. And then Nicholas Mock and real-life karting racer Alexander Hartvig joins the crew for the final 3 rounds, which includes the EEWC Le Mans 24-hour land finale in late October, the 27th to the 31st, if memory serves me correctly. Hopefully, we'll have some really good news to share with you all about that very, very soon. Also, some rumours. There's always rumours and gossip, isn't there? No matter whether it's real-life racing or sim racing. Apparently...
Any sport, really.
Exactly, any sport. And normally, it's quite controversial. Well, hopefully, it won't be too controversial. But apparently, that Axel Racing might join us a little bit later on with 2 DPIs. That could be at the Spa 24 Hours in late August. And I'm hearing some little whispers that maybe there could be another GT3 entry coming in. But who knows? We could see another car. So that could be a 3rd entry. So 3 entries in 2 different classes. Maybe either, well, at Spa, definitely for the 2 DPIs from Axel. But then Le Mans, who knows? We could even have further entries come in. I mean, that just really whets the appetite for the second half of the season here, Yusuf, because we came into this. I mean, when you and I had our conversation late last year, when I joined the commentary team, thanks to the newcomer, you know, I was really looking forward to the championship. I think now that with DPI coming in and the fact that it's reset the ledger at the top tier class, I know that some teams will probably be thinking, well, why bring in a car mid-season? Well, considering the fact that we had no more than 3 cars at the season opener, because it basically went like 3-2-1, didn't it? So we had Satellite Racing, Omicron Sim Racing, and Pin Sim Drillers Esports at Indianapolis. Silverstone, we had Omicron and we had Pin Sim. Then we just had Drillers for the 3rd round.
Yeah.
It was like literally we saw the public seppuku, the Japanese term for ritual suicide for the hypercar class, in public over the first 3 rounds of the championship. Yeah. So I think it's due diligence by both John and Peter back in Denmark, who have put a hell of a lot of hard work into this championship over the past few years, and especially with bringing on the hill climbing stuff, which has been really something different. It's been something different for both you and Ewan, because you both commentated on it. I'm waiting for my chance to hopefully get in on the action, and hopefully that will be sooner rather than later. But I think the introduction of the DPI class has really given an opportunity for other teams to come back to the championship. And that's what you want. Yes. You want something fresh. You want something new. You want something exciting. And the DPI class hasn't been around that long in insurance standpoint, but it has definitely got pedigree.
Yeah, and you've already mentioned, and I should say Ewan has mentioned a lot in his article. For those who haven't seen it, make sure to check it out. It's on the GTR website, and yeah, the DPI classes are already, or I should say the Cadillac DPI has already won a fair few events, and it gives an opportunity for teams to jump in. It's fairly late on in the season, which means maybe some of those teams that weren't quite as sure whether they could commit for a whole season might now be interested, and we can see them come in, because you always have that case. I think for anyone who's run an event, you always know that a week before the event starts, you're all of a sudden going to get loads of entries. When you thought that you only had 10 entries, all of a sudden it jumps up to about 25. And then at the same time, over the course of a season, the numbers do start to dwindle as things do pop up for different entries. So it's good to see that there's going to be new cars making their way and new faces as well, and maybe some old faces joining those new faces for effectively new teams in our new DPI class.
Yes, so the circuit, which we'll be racing at once around the clock, starting from midday Central European summertime, this coming Saturday, the 26th of June, we go once around, well, effectively once around a 12-hour span. Free practice gets underway 8 p.m. Central European summertime this coming Thursday, and then both qualifying sessions, qualifying 1 and qualifying 2, we start at 7 p.m. Central European summertime on the 25th, which is this coming Friday, and then 9:30 p.m. for qualifying 2. Let's have a look at the circuit now, Yusuf. Just under 3.2 miles, okay, 15 turns. A lot of the drivers will be thinking, well, we had a great test at the Nürburgring, might be able to have a chance to relax after the Nordschleife, but oh no, it's a very different animal. You know, we've had three very different tracks so far. Now we've got a fourth. I think, I'm just trying to remember. I think this actually is the smallest that in terms of length circuit on our calendar, because Indianapolis is longer than this. Silverstone is 3.6 miles. Sebring, I think, was a little bit longer as well. So I think we're in for a very tight and technical display of precision, accuracy, and waiting to make the strategy count. Of course, overtaking is at a premium. There are places like, say, the Schumacher S's, going from Ford through the Parabolica style straight down to Dunlop, going through into the Haug-Hauken at turn 1, the Mercedes Arena, you come out of there, you get the run coming out of the Mercedes Arena down to Valvoline, but also Advan, a fast corner taken at 5th gear in a GTE car that's going to be taken at over 230 kilometers an hour. I hate to think what the speeds will be in a DPI, because that'll be a new test for everybody. But this track started back in the mid-1980s. It's hosted DTM, it's hosted ADAC GT Masters, and now, in the virtual sense, it hosts GTR 24H this weekend. What are the particular parts of the circuit that really intrigue you the most in terms of a commentator perspective?
Well, I think when you're looking at, in terms of overtaking, let's say within class, because when you're looking between classes, pretty much overtaking can happen anywhere. You're looking at turn 1, you're heading down the hill, very late braking for that hairpin, but it's also, you know, relatively long braking zone as well, where you can really get your nose down the inside of someone. And the other opportunity is heading into that NGK chicane. There's two different layouts of the chicane. You've got, you know, the very tight left, right, but the one we'll be running is that more free-flowing left, right. And it does mean that you can brake a little bit later into the corner, but as someone who has been fortunate enough on certain sim racing platforms to drive the Nürburgring, mainly on ACC, so slightly different to R Factor 2, that the NGK chicane is probably one of my favorite parts of the circuit, just because it's slow, but you can carry so much speed into it, and you have to brake as late as you dare, get off the brake, and then just carry the speed through using as much of the curbing as you can. And that curbing can really unsettle the car. And if you get it slightly wrong, it just chucks you out wide, and, well, you're going to be losing a whole bunch of time. Other place to watch out for, Schumacher S. Very fast left, right, pretty much flat out if you can get the entry right. And I was actually speaking to Tiziano Brioni in my interview, and after the interview we were just kind of discussing different sims and how they work, and we were talking actually a little bit about the Schumacher S, because I was saying I can't take it flat, and Tiziano was saying you probably don't want to take it flat, because if you take it flat, yes, you might be able to take it flat and gain some time, but half the time you're probably just not quite going to get the entry right. And all of that time you gained over the previous laps through that particular corner, you'll just lose instantly. And that's something that you always have to consider in the race, not just in endurance racing, in sprint racing as well, compared to qualifying. Can you do it consistently quick? And that is what matters.
Yeah, I mean, especially when, you know, we've also had previously our first season of the sprint series on Assetto Corsa Competizione.
Yes.
And I know for a fact that you're going through that in a GT3 car at the best part of nearly 170 to 190 kilometers an hour at 4th gear. You put a foot wrong on that curbing. Or you can end up in the barriers. And I won't be at all surprised if the race this weekend provides pretty much some of the same. But yeah, you say about the Schumacher S's, the NGK chicane. One of my favorite ones is actually turn 1 going into the Mercedes arena. So going into the Haughauken, and I've seen it before on multiple other different platforms where people have actually taken the outside line approach to get the cutback, to get the inside run through into the Mercedes arena. And they have made it work. So that's another perfect opportunistic place to overtake. But really, we have to look at the championship standings of what we've got currently at the moment. So at the minute, we're going to go through the 3 classes that we do have still running before the intro. Obviously, the sort of saying goodbye to the hypercar and welcoming DPI on board. So LMP2, well, we don't really need to say much about Varga Sim Racing. It has been a perfect season. Perfect season so far. Will that be broken? We'll find out very, very soon later on this week. Probably not. Yeah. Sorry, frog in my throat there.
I'm dropping the casticus this early on, you know.
You know what? Because you want it. You want it to happen. You want something like maybe say Juices or Mugen to sort of like put the frighteners on the apple cart and rock the boat, so to speak. Well, talking of Juices and Mugen, they're both equal on points, 35 apiece. Varga Sim Racing have got a 46-point advantage. Yeah. They've had pole position, completed race bonus, every single victory. If there was a point for fastest lap in each race, they'd have that as well. Ramada Motorsport, go on.
I was just going to say, you know, Varga Sim Racing, if they win the next 2 races, they won the championship before the double pointer in
exactly. That's one thing that we keep on forgetting to mention to you people out there, that Le Mans is a double points round. And I couldn't think of anywhere else to do that, to be honest with you. Ramada Motorsport, DSG Motorsport, the 334, formerly Fair Racing team. And they've got their equal on points, 29, a point behind DEAC Hackers. DSR Nightmare, ProSim, B32, E-Team Brit, DSR Dream Team, and Abstineo Force Polonia. Every single team that has competed in at least, well, in pretty much 2 of the 3 rounds have all scored points. So that's really good to see that everyone has had a little bite of the cherry. GTE. Oh, it's looking close. We thought the Musto GD Esports in the 53 car were going to be leading coming out of Sebring, but it was the WOSR iZone Performance Porsche in the 51 that leads by just 4 points. DIS Sim Racing Lab, one of their drivers, well, very well known to everyone in these parts, Andy Kirsten. Currently P3 at the moment, 43 points. Volante Racing in the 66, which I think, if memory serves me correctly, has our equivalent of Valtteri Bottas that Mr. Bin Suhail has managed to interview.
I think it's Kimi Räikkönen.
Well, it is Kimi Räikkönen if he wants to be, but what is this? Pauli Ahonen.
Oh, Pauli
Ahonen. I had to think about that one for a moment. But thank goodness I got that right. They're currently.
I almost said Yuri Toman for a second. So that's a completely different driver.
I think Ginny would have been messaging you like the plague if you'd have said that. It'd be like saying, Yusuf, it wasn't me. Come on, man, get it right. So it was Pauli Ahonen. It could have been. Really. Well, it could have been taken one way or the other. You know that. Volante Racing, 9 points adrift in 4th. The number 54 Musto GD Esports. Now, if memory serves me correctly, wasn't it the 54 car that had the problems at Indianapolis? They had a return to garage. They had a 3-lap penalty. It was wet. They were put onto slicks.
Yeah.
And
spun out the pit lane.
Spun out the pit lane, hit another car, and it was another return to garage again. So their season has been one to forget, but they came good at Sebring. They finished 2nd. After all the trials and tribulations. The sister car, which took 12 points at Indianapolis, won the 2nd round at Silverstone, had a race to forget at Sebring, 6 points for the 53 car. HM Engineering, we never heard back from HM Engineering, who literally stoned the crows and went on a village of speed at Indianapolis in the Callaway Corvette C7R, won the thing, didn't get pole position, but then we heard nothing from them, and they have not participated since. Even with that, that has still put them in sixth on 26 points. Juice's Motorsport in the GTE. We remember what happened with that car when Nick Newcomb had the misfortune of a technical failure, I think, with his steering wheel hub, and all of a sudden it put him in a wall after Wojtek Bolesny had dramas in the pits.
Deuce's Motorsport were also the ones who took pole in Indianapolis, and then
Yes.
Nick Newcomb's PC just crashed, and he just went straight on at the straight and essentially caused the DNF for them, entirely out of his control, and really shot Deuce's in the foot as well.
Yeah, the 67 Volante racing car is 5 points behind the Porsche GTE from Juice's. ID Simsport, they're on 12 points. One Move Esport in the 31 Ferrari. They have had flashes of brilliance, but they need to start gathering a bit of pace. And especially when a lot of them are French drivers, pretty much the whole team is a French crew, they will look to battle hard at Le Mans. Satellite Racing, the 128, and ID Simsport round out the GTE rankings. Then it has been a pretty good season. 2 wins out of 3. Unison Racing, the all-Russian crew in the Aston Martin. Obviously, things changed coming to Sebring when the BOP adjustment from Studio 397 came into effect, and the Aston Martin was put on a little bit of a restraining order, let's say, in the fact that it wasn't given the complete performance. Yeah, minuscule, but it ended up being like this. But that's allowed the likes of Mugen Sim Racing in the 41 car, the 26 One Move Esport car. They've also come up really, really well. And actually, One Move Esport won last time out at Sebring and took pole position as well. So top 3 covered by 15 points. Danish Racing League, always good to see them with the Sierra GTR 24H 4th in the standings. Consistency definitely reigns supreme with the likes of Callum Wilson and the entire crew at Glam Racing in the 404 Aston Martin. 3 races they finished, and it's been 4th every single time. So a total of 39 points so far this season. The other DIS Sim Racing, it's the McLaren, not the Porsche, like we see in GTE. The 46 car is the penultimately placed car on that grid, 27 points ahead of Teleforingen in the 188 car. So really, I think the biggest battles that we're going to see, I mean, with Mugen running away with proceedings a little bit more than slightly Yusuf in LMP2, the battle for GT and GT3, I think with now going to the Nürburgring, it is still very much all to play for. And I don't think either of those titles will be decided until Le Mans.
No, without a doubt. I don't even think it is... Okay, it is possible for it to be decided before Le Mans, but I highly, highly doubt it. It would require Musto and Mugen to essentially pick up no points in the next 2 rounds. And I mean, the GTE class, you're talking about 9 points separating the top 4 teams. It is that close. And in the GT3 class, yes, Unison have got a 14-point lead, but as you mentioned, those BOP changes and the Aston Martin being somewhat nerfed brings the championship a little closer. And let's not even forget LMP2, because yes, Vargas Sim Racing are, a long shot clear, and I don't see them getting beaten. I've said before in previous episodes of this podcast and during races that the only team I think are capable of matching Vargas Sim Racing were Pin Sim Drillers, and Pin Sim Drillers aren't racing anymore. So I think they've got that in the bag. But in the LMP2 class, when you look from 2nd down to about 6th, you're talking about 7 points separating those teams. So it's still a tight battle, and there is still a lot of entertaining racing to keep your eyes out on for in the LMP2 class. That does have an impact on the championship.
Yeah, well, that really wraps things up for the preview ahead of the 4th round of the GTR 24H Endurance E-Racing World Championship taking place this coming weekend. Things kickstart 8 p.m. Central European Summertime this coming Thursday, which is the 24th of June. Qualifying starts from 7 p.m. the night after, and then we start things off at 12 p.m. Central European Summertime on the 26th of June. As always, big thank you, Yusuf, for your welcome insight, and good to see you again. That is it from us here at GTR 24/8. So on behalf of Yusuf and myself, Alex, thank you very much for watching, and join us live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, all the relevant streams that we provide here on GTR 24H. Head to our official website, gtr24h.org, to find out more information about the championship, how you can get involved, and how you can follow all the action. And also, one final passing note. The weather, as always, in the Eifel region can be a bit unpredictable. Thank you very much. See you very soon. Goodbye.
Racing World Championship 12 Hours on Nürburgring is presented in partnership with Global Flix, Film Volt, Viper Gaming by Patriot, ESTV, and Motorvision.tv.
A 1v2 for the tournament. Pressure is on.
Racing for Green is here to help you carbon neutralize your racing. By planting new trees, Racing for Green offers to make your racing carbon neutral. We already have the calculations, contacts, infrastructure, deals and solutions ready for you to easily buy carbon neutral laps on any racetrack. It doesn't matter if you are a racing fan, team owner, driver, sponsor or partner. Anyone can buy CO2 neutral laps in the Racing for Green webshop and trade CO2 emissions for New Forest. Racing for Green.